finally have a cool project to share here with all of you, and just found this yesterday at the thrift store. It's a late 2006 20-inch iMac, and I absolutely love these white polycarbonate iMacs from the G5 to the very first Intel versions. There's something about this design that I absolutely love. And so when I saw this sitting on the shelf at the thrift store, I had to pick it up. Now, I already have one of these in the collection and a G5 version as well, but whenever I see these white polycarbonate iMacs for a decent price, I'm picking them up. So this one, as you can see, I paid $31 for it, which seems like a bit much compared to some of the other computers that they usually sell at this particular thrift store. But it is a iMac after all, and I'm sure they saw the Apple logo and they were like, yeah, that makes it worth $15 more than the usual other Windows machines that they have on the shelf, which they did have. They had another small form factor Dell desktop. It was a consumer version. It had a Pentium inside, so it wasn't exactly the most desirable one. I've restricted myself to finding business class machines because they're just easier to work on and stuff. Sure, they're a little boring, but just easier to work on and find parts, and are usually a bit more powerful. But they had that, and this was sitting in the testing section. I'm guessing they put it there because it's a little taller than some of the other monitors they have in the monitor section. But it didn't have a power cord, so there was really no way to test it. But for the price, I have parts for these things, and I'm sure we can get it up and working. But I got it home here, and I did plug it in, and believe it or not, it works just fine. It still has somebody's account on there, password protected. I was able to get into the guest account and take a look at the specs, which it does also have on the bottom of the foot here. So I looked at that at the store because, again, I wasn't sure if this was a late G5 model or an Intel model. And it's the very last of the Intel white polycarbonate ones with the 2.16 gigahertz Intel Core 2 Duo. Somebody upgraded the RAM in this thing to 2.5 gigs. It originally came with 1 gig, and it still has the factory 250 gig hard drive inside as well. So it seems pretty stock, and it runs fine. Now, the only issue I had is when shutting it down, it hung. It just kept spinning. It wouldn't actually shut down. So I'm sure there's something going on. Now, it didn't come with the keyboard or mouse, but I already have plenty of those, so that's no big deal. And, I mean, for the price, it probably should have. But this is just going to be a fun project. I'm looking forward to digging into it here and getting an SSD in there. Just out of curiosity, I looked up on eBay the price of these things, the 20-inch iMacs of this generation. And they were going, including shipping, between $50 and $250. It seems like it really depends on the condition of these things and probably who it's selling to. So I guess $30, that's less than $50, which would include shipping, because that particular listing was like a $20 for the machine and $30 for shipping. And I mean, I'll always factor that into the equation, because I mean, that's part of the price. You got to get it there. Here, I picked it up at the thrift store and brought it home. So I'm just really happy to have this in the collection with my other ones. So, enough of me rambling about the machine. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Now, one thing that I'm going to do is we're going to get into the main account because I'm just a curious person and figure out what is in there. And our other goals today are also to open up the machine, clean it out, because it does look like it has a decent amount of dirt on the bottom, install an SSD, reinstall, I don't know if I'm going to do 10.6 Snow Leopard first and then Lion, or just go right to Lion. One of the two we're going to do. I'm going to see if I have another 2 gigabyte stick, or at least a 1 gigabyte stick, so we can give it 3 gigs, which is the most that it can technically recognize, but you can put 4 in there, and it'll only use 3. So, a lot of fun stuff here, and then we'll compare it to the G5 as well. So, the first thing I'm going to do is come over to the computer here, and we're going to wake it up and find out how to engage the original account on the machine. So, to do that, re-enable the Setup Assistant. So let's do that. The other thing we definitely need to do is clean it up. It unfortunately has like a hairline scratch here that you can see and some other scratches here. every time I find these things, it has hairline scratches. But you know what? At least it doesn't have the vertical line problem like the 17-inch versions. And it doesn't have an actual, crack. It's just surface scratches. So we're lucky there. And of course, when you get the sticker off of here, and there's some residue on the back that we need to get rid of. But I think we can clean this up really nice and make it a very functional machine. I was wanting to find another one of these, or at least bring out the exact same one that I have in my collection back home, because I'm pretty sure you can still do YouTube on this thing. But with the G5, obviously you can't. It's just single core. Sure, it's 2 gigahertz and all that kind of stuff with 2 gigs of RAM. It's a maxed out G5. But, it just can't. So here at least we have 2 cores. We'll give it a go. But yeah, okay, we got to clean it up, and we got to try that out on here to get that account. So I got it plugged in. We'll turn it on here, and what did it say? Command and S while it is booting, so let's do that. And we're booting up and whatever here, so I'm going to put those commands in, and let's see what we get. Okay, so we got the commands in there. Let's see what we get. We should get the original setup assistant for macOS 10.7. Now, this was a command for 10.6, so it might not work on 10.7. I'm not entirely sure. And we definitely need to clean this screen. There's all this residue everywhere. Too bad there's this hairline scratch here. That's so annoying. Yeah, there's all this residue. I don't know what, did somebody, watch a funny video and spit their soda out on it? I'm not entirely sure what in the world happened. What are we going to get? A setup screen? Oh, we got a blank screen. Perfect, 'cause that's what I wanted. That's positive. Can't say I've seen this happen yet. Interesting. Not sure what's going on. Did it die, or... I don't see anything. I don't really feel anything. Interesting. Do we have, no, there's nothing on the mouse. Turn it on again. It was booting up yesterday. Get the Apple logo here. Unless there's something wrong with the hard drive. I mean, there very well could be. Oh, see, there's another hairline scratch there and there. And, half the time I wonder if that's just from people using it or it getting transported to its final destination of the thrift store and then get, treated terribly. So we started it up again, and sure enough, here we get account creation. So we'll be able to make an administrator account and reset the password on the one that's on here. So we got the account made, and every time I put in the password and hit enter, we get a white screen, and then it goes back here. I went ahead and shut it down because I do believe there's something wrong with the hard drive, because I was having issues with it yesterday loading certain things. So the next goal that I'm going to do now, since we know that basically everything else is functional, is cleaning it up. I'm going to go ahead and get all of this residue off of the display and clean up the machine itself, and then we'll go ahead and put the cards up in here and open it up and see what we find inside. Thankfully, some simple rubbing alcohol works well on getting all this residue off, so that's positive. And while we need some more work on the back, the front screen here is much better cleaned up. You can see all the little scratches, unfortunately, and some of it's just dust here now, but it's a lot better than it was, and the chin is a lot more cleaned up too. This gets a lot of scuffs and scratches, I notice, over the years as well, but we'll definitely be able to clean it up nicely. There we go, all cleaned up. Looks a lot better than it did. I mean, we don't have any of the residue on the screen anymore, other than the scratches and some dust. And on the back, a big improvement. So, I think the next step that we're gonna do now is go ahead and open this thing up and see what we can do with the insides. When working on these or any other iMac, I always like to put down a towel so there's something nice for the screen to sit on. Now the G5 versions, the very first two iterations of it. The regular one and the ambient light sensor version are really nice because all you have to do is take off the bottom screws and the whole back lifts right off and you can access everything. Now, it's opposite with these, the very last G5 and the Intels. You have to take off the front. So what we need to do is take off the screws in the bottom here, and then we have to take like a hotel key card or credit card or something and shove it up in here, and there's like these clips on either side, and then the front should come off. So I believe the first thing we need to do is get these screws off on the bottom. They should all be Phillips. It looks like it. No, that is not Phillips. The RAM access is Phillips though. Got the screws out of the bottom here and the RAM door cover off. So now we're gonna go ahead and put it back upright and use some of these old hotel room keys to open it up. All we essentially need to do, I have two of them here so it's a little stiffer, is this gets shoved all the way up in here to engage a clip. And there should be one on the other side as well. And I try to do it with one hand. I don't remember if that pulls forward then, or if you have to do one on each side. But something. So I have two old hotel room keys on either side here. And we got another one. We can just kind of pop this open. Well, we got the one side. See how we got this gap here now? That's good. I don't know if this side is disengaging. I may have to play with it a bit more. Okay, we were able to get it to pull away here on each side, so I believe we're done with these hotel keys here. We'll just put those aside. Always, you know, some places they don't care if you drop them off or not, at least back in the day. So we got it started to come off here. Now we need to set it on its back. You can actually see the two clips up in there that we were pushing on the camera module. And so now we need to push these RAM ejection things in and pull the white bezel over them. It's kind of hard to do that with one hand. So yeah, we're going to push those in and pull the white bezel over it, just like that there. And we'll be able to get it up the rest of the way. Now, I believe there are some cables. You know, we have the camera up here, so we're going to have to be very careful with this. Got it all lifted up, and yeah, it definitely needs some cleaning in here too. So now we need to disconnect the two cables from the camera here. There's the front. After disconnecting our two little cables, they just pull apart. There's no special clips or anything. And now we need to get this shield up here. It's got this black plastic on the one side, and then I think there's aluminum on the other. So we just need to, I believe, peel up this edge. Most of this wasn't even stuck really good anymore. It was mostly stuck good here where the RAM is. But then you just peel the sides up. I still have to do the other side, and we can just kind of fold it above the display. We don't need to take it off of this side. There we go. We have a speaker here, power. I believe that's the GPU, and our battery. If I have a new one, I'll replace it. If I don't, I guess we'll just let it be. Fan's definitely dusty. We'll clean that up in the other speaker over here. Now, what we're hunting for are the screws to take the display off. And we'll need to remove the video cable right here. Just take out those two screws and this will help you pull it straight up. All of this shield stuff is annoying, but we'll need to pull it up to find the screws. There'll be one here, down in the corners, and one up here, I believe. If you have one of these iFixit screwdrivers like I do, you may need to pull the side here away a little bit to make room to get the tool down in there. Got all four screws out. So now we need to lift up the display. I cleaned it off a little bit. And let's see here. And we don't want to lift it too much because I believe we'll need to disconnect some more cables for the backlight. Looks like they might be over here. So we had these two that were right here, and now we're going to have these two for the top fluorescent light. And there's the insides. So here's our hard drive that we're going for. It is still Apple original. And you can get a little look at everything in here. The fan, and it definitely looks like some type of water damage or something got in here because there's a little bit of rust at the top and on the top of the display. But, I mean, it doesn't really affect its usefulness. Now, this is your power board, so you want to be a little cautious around that. But while we have it open, we're definitely going to give it a clean. So, it looks like we have these two brackets here, and we'll be able to take the hard drive out. It's just a regular SATA drive. There's our drive, dirty as can be, but we got it out of there. There's also a thermal sensor here that we'll have to unstick and restick onto the SSD. But other than that, I'm gonna spend some time with a vacuum cleaning around in here with a toothbrush and whatnot. And then we'll get a SSD to put in here. Much cleaner, and this thing is so much lighter without that display in it. I also found an SSD I had in my bin and a holder for it. That should work quite well for us here, and that'll be good to have something to hold it in place. So now I'm going to turn my attention to cleaning the back of the display here, because to be honest, it is quite dirty. Let's see if I can turn it around here, being very gentle. You can see the rust stains here at the top, but we also just have, you know, dirt and dust from over the years. So I'm going to give it the same cleaning out there. Here's the information on the display if you happen to be needing to look for one. Yeah, incredibly thick. I wonder if you can get a different type of replacement to put in here, or an adapter system or something. I did put an adapter system style one in my 17-inch that I originally had a long time ago, because the display got all the lines on it. So I'm going to clean this up, and we'll clean the inside of the white front bezel there, and then we'll move on to the SSD. Definitely a lot nicer once all the dust is out of the grooves here. But you can see that light surface rust kind of on the bars here as well. And just a little fact, there's magnets here on the side so that you can put your Apple remote. The original polycarbonate one would magnet right to the side here. So now I'm going to come along and clean the edges. You can see where something dripped down in here. And then we will move on to this. Got the temperature sensor off with some gentle persuasion here and twisting it back and forth. We'll definitely need that so the fans don't go nuts when we put it all back together. We got our bracket here, which I actually picked up from Fry's a long time ago. Of course, they're long gone, unfortunately. But we're going to try to use this to at least hold the SSD in an appropriate spot. The G5 one, I just had it kind of hanging, but that was kind of up here. Here it's next to all these electronics. And before I thought I'd just let it be, but hey, if we have the bracket, let's use it. So we need to take off the existing screws and mounting bracket here and move it over. Well, now I understand why I've never really used this bracket before. It doesn't necessarily line up with all the screws, as you can see. So I think what we're going to do is just put in the top ones here and here, so at least you know it's hanging. Of course, we'll need a screw here because it's holding that board in place, and I guess we'll just store the other one away. Apparently, never mind all of this, the screws don't even fit in these holes. They're only designed for these tiny ones. So yeah, we'll just let it kind of just be. There we go. Nice and secure, because that's professional. Now, we'll put this bracket back in over here to hold the inverter board for the lights. There we go. Now we're ready to put it back together and just do everything in reverse. We'll grab our display here, and it's got to be set in the top. Now, I don't know what that is. All this shield stuff is really annoying, but that's what you get for a plastic polycarbonate case. So to help me in putting the screen back in, I've taped over all the foil on the edges because it is just so annoying to get it lined up while you're doing all this. So let's get our display in here. Oh, that's a world of difference. And of course we need to plug in our sensors here. So, well, not sensors, but inverter cables for the backlights. That's in. Then we have the bottom one here. Annoyingly enough, I had to fish the little bit down in there and then tighten up the screw with the handle portion, because this is just too big, and every time you pull it away to try to get the screw in there, it pulls away the hole that the screw goes in at the same time, so it just doesn't work. But if you get it down in there and lined up and it's just sitting, you can set the bit on top of it and then, you know, tighten it up from there. And I've already done that, so we'll just pull it out. But there's the screw. Now we just need to take off all of this tape. After hooking up all the cables and laying down the shielding in the best way we can for what it's worth, We got the front bezel here, so we need to reconnect our cables for the camera. But one thing I want to do is let's take out this RAM. So we just pull these two out all the way, and let's see what we got in here. So we have two sticks from the same company, whatever in the world this is. This one is a 2 gig, and this one is a 512. So I wonder why they went with that, because this is definitely not the original Apple RAM. I mean, if you would have done that, you might as well get a 2 and a 1 gig. So I have a 1 gig. Let's obtain it here. It's in this little baggie of laptop style RAM. I just saw it here a second ago. This should be it. And we can do that. That will give us 3 gigs, which is the maximum that it can talk to anyway. So now we just need to slide these back in here with the groove the correct direction. That should give us 3 gigs of RAM, which will be great. And I'm pretty sure this can help you get it back in there if you line it up correctly. Yep, just push them in. That should help push your sticks in there. But you know what? This one doesn't look like it went in all the way. There we go. Got to have a little persuasion there. I don't think that mechanism does the whole job for you. Okay, so we upgraded that. There's a 512 stick. That's pretty useless. And we have our RAM access cover here. We'll put that back on. That is Phillips again. There we are. I'm going to clean this up a little bit and we'll power it on. Got it all plugged back in. Let's see if we get the flashing folder. Oh, we have a light. Are we going to get a bong or not? It appears that the computer doesn't like this 1 gig stick. I just took it out. The panel's still off there, but we got a bong this time, and we have something with the display at least. We should get a flashing, question mark looking for an operating system in a perfect world, but we'll have to find a different stick or maybe reseat it or something. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Certainly didn't like this stick of RAM, and out of all these, I have a lot of regular and DDR3, and what is this? That's another DDR3. Of course, the 512 that came out of it, but I had a crucial 2 gigabytes, so now it has 4 gigs of RAM, even though it's only able to use 3 or something, but whatever. We got it upgraded a little bit just out of the pile of RAM here, and that's nice. So now, let's make a bootable drive for macOS Lion. Now we'll move over to the Mac Pro here to create our install media. I'm just putting it on this hard drive here. I have plenty of these laptop hard drives, and they're quick to write to versus just a USB drive. So I'm just putting on the image here from the actual install, and we'll be able to hopefully install right from this disk. We'll boot up to it and install it on the SSD. After messing with this drive for way too long because I couldn't get it to write correctly, I found out that even though it fails at the very end, it seems to have written everything to the drive, so we'll give it a go. First we'll turn it on here. Let it spin up, I'm sure it already has. And we'll turn it on. Gonna hold down the option button and see if we find any drives. We do have some blinking here. And we do have whatever this EFI boot thing is it says here. Must have been what it titled itself. The screen pulses a little bit on camera, but it's not doing that in person. And we are getting some type of communication here. I mean, at least we're getting a flashing light. Looking positive. So now we'll go ahead and go into disk utility here and format the SSD inside the machine. Please be found. Okay, it looks like we got something here. We're going to format the disk and install the operating system. We have our Macintosh HD here. Yes, it's an SSD, but we'll go with some classic naming. And we'll see if it throws any errors. I don't remember if it's a Lion installation or High Sierra or El Capitan. Well, you have to set the clock back to a certain date for it to work, depending on when you downloaded the image. Because I get all these images since 10.6 when they come out. So, you know, some of them are quite old. This one will probably need an update once we get there. But look at that. We're moving over files pretty quick. We're finally at the welcome screen to set up the operating system. I ended up taking out this stick of RAM and leaving the crucial 2 GB stick in there because it got stuck on install and it just hung. I mean, the hard drive was blinking like it was doing something, but it really wasn't. So instead what I have done is, of course, removed that stick of RAM, let it reinstall. I went to go get something to eat, and I've picked that up and come back, and now I found it asleep, woke it up, and here we are at our welcome screen. So let's set it up. Here we are, all set up. Of course, we only have the 2 gigs recognized right now because we have that out. But the one thing I have noticed just by using the interface here, sometimes it glitches out. Well, it's not doing it for us right now, but I think there's something to do with graphics. Because, like, there's a red dot here. It's somewhere in the middle of the screen. Anyway, we can go and cover it up, and it's gone. And sometimes it'll flicker. Oh, see? Something with the graphics isn't exactly working correctly. So, we'll see how long that lasts. But anyway, hey, we got it installed. 10.7.5, I think that's the highest one. There might be another step after that. Yep, they do give us a picture of the computer here and all the other information of this thrift store find. So, of course, as we all want to know, can we watch YouTube? So, oh, we locked up. Yeah, there's definitely something going on with this, and we'll need some investigation. But for the moment, it looks like it restarted. Perfect. I keep messing around with the RAM, and each time we get a little bit better, so something's going on. Rebooted, and we're doing better. Of course, YouTube isn't supported on this old browser, Safari from 2012. So I'm going to have to get some applications and stuff installed on here, and we'll try it again on a more up-to-date version of, you know, Firefox or something. I mean, I know that those aren't technically supported on here to the newest version either, but that should get us a little further than the old Safari here does. Just sitting here installing software, going through settings, and now it's downloading some updates. The only issue I've had so far, other than weird glitches with the graphical interface, is the right click button doesn't work on this mouse. I don't know why. I swear it used to work. But you can right click, you know, you hold down control and right click on the machine, but this mouse doesn't seem to sense that for some reason. But that has nothing to do with the computer itself. So right now, we're installing some updates to Mac OS, and then I'll get my hard drive over here and start installing some software and see how that goes. Updates installed successfully, and I got the 4 gigs of RAM to work okay. We were doing well until I had to mess with RAM for 550 times because it kept not booting. You wouldn't get the chime. It would just sit there, make the fans go, woo! And that's just how you know that it's just sad time. So now, I decided to put the original RAM back in when I got the thing, the 2 gig and the 512 stick, and I just reset the PRAM, and it's taking a while to boot up now, but we'll see if that makes any difference. In the meantime, while I was messing around with that, I plugged in the original hard drive into here and was just seeing what was on there. And there's a lot of random partitions for like Linux and Windows, but there's nothing of interest on the Mac side of things. There's somebody's account, but there's like one application, and the other stuff, one application that's more interesting, and I mean like installed wise. And then there's like no pictures, no documents, nothing. There's like 4 songs in iTunes. So it was probably just used for either the Windows side of things a lot, or just a web browser. But hey, we got this up here to a screen now, and this time the bar's at the top without me having to click on it. So let's see if I get any more success out of this. Overall, even though there's issues, like I have to restart this thing every once in a while because it freezes up graphically, I'm pleased with it. It was a fun project today, and to get it up and going, see if I click here, we'll get our top bar. I don't know, something weird going on with it. The other 20-inch one I have at home never had any of these issues, so this thing's definitely had a hard life and something or another happened to it. But anyway, it's been fun to mess with. I ended up finding some type of Firefox Legacy here, and I was able to get it to play a YouTube video for about 30 seconds, so then it locked up and then it restarted. But I don't know, it's really sad to see that, well, I guess it's a good thing too. I mean, technology has progressed a lot over the years since 2006. But when I first got one of these in about 2011, 2012, a used 17-inch one, I used that alongside my MacBook Pro at the time as my secondary computer. And I really loved that thing. And you could do everything on it. Video editing, watch videos, all of that. But it's just amazing and sad in a way that it's changed so much that you can't use these machines for that specifically anymore. But anyway, I've enjoyed messing with this machine today, getting it all cleaned up, putting an SSD in it. There's the back of it all nice and shiny. And I think over time, as I mess with it more, maybe it'll settle itself back in and be fine. I mean, whenever you do something that's too intense all at once is when it goes. But as long as you're just doing regular tasks, you know, you can bring up a text document and do stuff with that, listen to a song, you know, simple things, it's fine. But for whatever reason, you do something too intensive, it just barfs all over you. Before we depart, I just wanted to compare the Intel machine on the right with the G5 on the left. These are both 20-inch machines, so let's go ahead and see what some of the differences are. I'm sure it's just the background, but I think the G5 has a brighter screen on it. However, the G5 definitely has had a much better life than the Intel machine. It doesn't have any of the issues with this graphical stuff. I did have to redo all the capacitors on it. That was a journey, but it works flawlessly now. Of course, you can't do much with it on the internet nowadays watching video-wise, but you can browse it just fine on some simple websites, and I use it for some PowerPC style stuff. So here's the specs of the G5. It's the 2 gigahertz with 2 gigabytes of RAM from the factory. Originally had a 400 gigabyte hard drive in it. And here's the Intel 2.16 gigahertz Core 2 Duo with 2.5 gigs of RAM. So of course you have a dual core processor and a single core processor. The other things that I notice is that the Apple logo on the G5 is definitely slightly darker and inset a little bit than the Intel one. This one seems to have a little bit of like shading going on here, and the Intel one does not. Of course, this one is the G5 ambient light sensor version, so there's a little ambient light sensor on the top, where the Intel has the camera at the top over here. Now, they did make this style of case with a G5 in it with a camera, but this is the style I like more with the camera missing. I just love this style of the G5. Now, the G4 is unique in its own way, you know, with that sunflower lamp, but this one's my favorite design right here. And the reason I like this too is it's just more usable. Well, it used to be anyway. So as you can see, I tend to use this one a bit. It's got a newer keyboard on it than this one I just threw on for the moment. So let's look at the back. So on the back of the machines again, with the G5 on the right and the Intel on the left, there's definitely some type of inset going on with the logo here. There's some shading at the top, Whereas the Intel one, it definitely seems to be printed on. That shading or insetness behind the polycarbonate definitely isn't there. You can also see on the G5, the power button is over here, and on the Intel, it's on the opposite side. Also, the G5 has all the I/O vertical, and the Intel, it's all horizontal. Some other differences are, of course, the thickness. You can see that here. The G5 is, I believe, 2 inches thick, and the Intel, well, obviously not so. And the fan of the G5 is also louder. That's what you're hearing right now. The other thing, if I can get around this chair here, is the G5 has its disk drive, super drive, up a lot higher than the Intel. The Intel's kind of in the middle with the G5 up here at the top. So, there's the video of the thrift store find 2006 20-inch iMac. Definitely going to play around with it some more, but I think we're done with the journey. We got what we wanted to do. We got it up and going. Let's see, we'll give it one more go. And I'm sure as soon as I bring up the internet here, we're going to have it just barf all over. But we'll give it a try, I suppose. We'll go to YouTube here. I tried to play one of my videos earlier. Let's see what we get. After all, this was the end goal with this machine. Oh, we're getting an advertisement. So let's mute that because we don't need that. But we're also, is it going to play? Oh, we're getting another ad. Okay. Well, let's hit play and see what we get. Well, we're getting an advertisement. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, and I don't really care for an ad. So we're going to look at the G5 here for a minute. We'll hit skip, and it looks like the video's playing, and we haven't had it give us the gray screen yet, so let's see. Hey, we got some audio here, and it's playing the video. Let's skip somewhere else.
Pure voltage going through. It's definitely, for sure, this is...
I'm very surprised, actually. I'm very surprised.
It has that 60 hertz flicker, something going on. It's real weird. Okay, so we're at 119 volt.
Let's get some more action. There's not a lot of action going on here. What are we playing at? 480p. This is very interesting. It's not barfing like it did for me earlier. This is very positive, actually. If you were to try to do this on the G5, for example, it would lock up and you'd just be very sad. But wow. This Firefox Legacy browser here is actually quite good. I tried it with the original Firefox, the one that would support Lion here, the most recent one, the extended support release, and it was not this smooth. But we're getting this video to play here, and I'm pleased with that. Let's see what we can do if we go full screen, okay?
Mostly marketed for very hard to reach places.
Oh, wow.
We're not going to be wanting to replace bulbs like this all the time.
I am surprised. We got a little flickering going on as I move the mouse cursor around. Yeah, don't do that. Let's exit out of it. Hey, I'm real pleased with this. I was real worried that we'd take a look at this function and the computer would absolutely give up. But maybe the longer it's been on for us here in this demonstration, the better. So anyway, that's a very happy ending to the iMac here. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed messing around with this computer today. I love doing these kinds of things. Sure, it takes a whole lot of time to mess with them, but you learn a lot of stuff along the way. So here we go. This is a very cool addition to the G5 here. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and also please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching.